Hello, Guy here on July 27th, on what may be one of the hottest days of the year. We were in the upper 90s today here in Holyoke. It's been a while since my last video update, so I am going to do a little garden tour and show you how things have changed in the last month or two, maybe three. Alright, I'm going to start out here at the blueberries. Our blueberry plants are producing. Not doing a great job. I think they need some different things to help acidify the soil or something like that. Walking by a peach tree here. That one's doing very well. It's not a very old one. Next I have Nanking cherry that is in our wood pile. It's near our driveway, so it actually has the fortune of being near our wood pile. It actually really seems to enjoy that spot. This year it produced its first cherry and it was delicious. It only produced one. Another thing that's been taking my time, other than this quarantine and having two small kids home all the time, is this wall here. I've been re-siding the wall, and that is black locust. You cannot even nail through it. You have to screw through it, so it is taking me some time. Alright, next up, let's get to the grapevines. We've been kind of neglecting these, except for this winter we went through and pruned them really well. You're supposed to prune off like 90% of grapevines each year to make them produce well. Last year we got so few. This year they are looking gorgeous. So if you're not pruning your grapevines, try it. It worked well, great for us this year. Alright, next up I'm going to go into our annual beds. This is one of my favorite crops and one of our big producers. This year we're hoping to get 1,000 pounds. That might be an overshot, but the main one that's going to help us get there are our tomato plants. We have, I believe it's about 50 to 60 vines here. And they're just starting to really come online now. We're getting about 5, maybe 4 pounds of tomatoes a day. I cook it into tomato sauce. So we just did a garden vegetable sauce. I also make ketchup and salsa out of it. They're doing quite well this year. Not perfect. Some of our vines are dying. Not a lot, but some. We think it's probably a blight, but the rest are doing fantastic. Alright. This bed right here is our garlic bed. As you can see, we've already harvested. We got, I think it was 25 pounds of garlic. And now we're re-cropping it with some squash, some dry beans. So hopefully that will start coming in soon. Right now it looks kind of ugly. This bed, I think, has been overcropped, but honestly it's been doing really well. So it seems like I was wrong about it. Score a point for Gary there. We have some kale, a lot of kale. There's some basil in here. Peppers are all down the middle. This is a new variety we got this year that's been working out fantastically. Keep going down here. We got some more dry beans as well. This is some dinosaur kale, which has been doing fantastic. Alright, then there's a lot more peppers, dry beans, dinosaur kale. And on the back side, you can see strung up are some snap peas. And then this is just a stray watermelon plant. It's doing great. Alright. Here is our raised beds. We use these for like carrots, potatoes, onions, things like that. We did onions in this bed this year and they did horribly. I think it was too cold and too wet when we started, and then it became too dry. So it's been a rough year. We had some volunteer potatoes, so we just let them grow in. And then we threw in some basil. Unfortunately, these beds have not been doing a lot this year. This raised bed with the exception, we just pulled out, I believe it's 20 pounds of carrots, and we have recropped it with some more carrots. So hopefully they will do as well as the last bunch. We still have a bunch of carrots left over from that. We also planted onions here. The main thing you can see there right now is basil, which is doing great. Alright, now let's get to the perennials. Oh man, I gotta cut this out. We just started, across the street we have some walnut trees. So we gathered some walnuts and started planting them. And when they came up this year, I realized that we have walnuts growing out all throughout our yard, which is cool, but you actually don't want them growing in with other things because they have jackalope, which stops other things from growing, which is why I need to cut this walnut that is getting huge out of the middle of our elderberry bush. The elderberry is doing great. This is like its second year and it is taking over. This thing is amazing. I've been taking cuttings from this year too, and those have been going great as well. All right, let's see. Another thing that's been going really well is our corn. This is a popcorn, and I don't know if you can tell, but this thing is like probably 7 feet tall, a lot of them. So we're gonna have an excessive amount of popcorn this year, which is great. I love me some popcorn. Here's a watermelon plant down below that is taking over. Here's a squash plant. It's mostly dead. It's too bad. We got some runner beans coming up here. I don't know if you can see that. But it's really cool growing up the corn. And that seems to be working well. You ever heard of the Three Sisters? It's kind of like that, only a little more by accident. All right, here's a squash plant. This has been our big zucchini producer. We get about a zucchini every other day from that one. It says various things. I just dug up some potatoes here the other day. I'll show you some more potatoes. They're still going pretty well. This is my favorite berry. This is a mulberry tree. And I don't see any ripe ones offhand, but it's been producing for maybe a month now. They are the most delicious berry I have ever had. They are fantastic. I highly recommend them. They grow very easy. You don't have to do much for them. All right, then in here I have some potato plants. There's a bunch of potato plants growing here. They're doing great. It's sort of a mix of like things that we had overgrowing over the winter. Some potatoes that just grew some spuds and we put them in the ground, and some that are resistant to potato Colorado beetles, or whatever they're called. Right here, we have some walking onions, which I love. The bulbs are rather quite small, but they're a very aggressive plant. You don't need to do much for them. And then these little bulbs you can take and you can just plant them all around and they will grow and take over. So, and you can use the tops for like onion chive type things. I also have some stinging nettle here. I got my foot on that the other day. That felt great. That's a very, very nutritious plant, but you gotta be careful because it will stab you and it hurts. All right, let's see. We got our pear tree here. Walk up in here. The pear tree is doing great. The pears look a little questionable at the moment. Not sure why. And then in this bed, we have some black currants just starting to grow. We just planted these like a month ago. And they don't look like much now, but they are hardy plants and they're very shade tolerant. So I expect them to do very well. All right, let's look what else we have here. Currants. These, I believe, are champagne currants. They're pretty young still, but we definitely started getting some this year. Have our apple trees here. 1, 2, 3. They've struggled in the past, mostly I think because we let them overfruit. But this year I think they're doing as good as they have ever done. That apple looks gorgeous right there. So I'm very optimistic about them this year. This one as well. This is a hazelnut tree. And it is about, I think it's 4 years old. And this was like a stick when it started. So it is doing great. Here's some hazelnuts. Last year was the first year we got anything from it. And it was a decent crop. This being the second year, I have high hopes that we'll get even more. All right, and then we got various like squash, cucumber plants. This one's doing not so well. The other ones are doing well. All right, let's go over here to where we have our raspberries. These have not, these are about 4 or 5 years old. They don't need much. We haven't watered them at all this year. We have 2 different varieties. This one is already produced. It had like its roughest year yet, but we still got a fair amount of raspberries from it. But it's been kind of droughty, so they haven't been spoiled or anything. These ones are just about to start coming online, and those ones will produce until after the first frost, so probably until October. So I look forward to that. Here's some more raspberries, but they've been growing up through the grass. We haven't done anything else for them, so they look like they're struggling, but they're doing surprisingly well. All right, here is what I've been working on this year, which is some, I'm trying to propagate some things. And these are my elderberries. So I have 1, 2, 3 growing at the moment. Then we have some sweet potatoes thrown in here. And some hazelnuts. I have 2 hazelnuts. I have some growing in pots as well. Here's a peach tree.
Wait, what?
This over here is a mulberry tree. It hasn't produced any mulberries yet, but probably next year because it's really taken off this year. Sea berry. And last but not least, I want to show you some of our elderberries, which are starting to turn. Supposedly it's still another couple weeks until they're ready, but those are definitely starting to ripen really well right now. All right, so that's what I have for you today. So stay tuned. I'll try to do more videos. But yeah, enjoy. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks. Bye.